Welcome to Backyard Cigars, and I've got Patrimonio by Martinez Cigars, but this is the torpedo version. Now remember, I put out a review not long ago on the Robusto Gordo, which was 5x54. This is a traditional vitola of 6x52 torpedo, and it employs the same blend, same wrapper, everything's the same. You've got the Mexican San Andres wrapper, you've got the Nicaraguan binder, and then you've got a blend of Nicaraguan and Dominican Cubanito for the filler. Now, the Patrimonio is only available in those two sizes. How different are they in when you put them in these two different vitola sizes? Well, from my experience, they haven't been that different. They've been very similar. Perhaps I think I get a little bit more of these cocoa notes in the torpedo, but that, I don't know. That could just be me. Maybe that's what I think I'm picking up, and it's really just the same thing. It's just the duration, the vitola size, the amount of tobacco, because the Gordo definitely has a ton more of tobacco. But really, from 52 to 54, it's a small difference, but it can make a difference nonetheless. Now, another thing that I've been loving about these Patrimonio cigars is the burn line. Burn line on these, I think I've smoked at least 3 or 4, no touch-ups whatsoever. So what I'm basically saying is I can't tell much of a difference between the Robusto and the torpedo. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If the blend is that consistent that there isn't much of a change in the two vitola sizes, not a bad thing. Take a look at that burn line again. I think I think that when I say what I'm about to say, most people will agree. How memorable is it when you're enjoying a cigar and you've lit your cigar, obviously, and you've never had to go back to touch it up again? Like the whole smoking session. How memorable is that? Because there are many cigars that I've enjoyed over the years, but they've also come with some hassle of retouching and touching up. Some more than others. Some, even with many touch-ups, were still highly enjoyable. And this is from smoking the same cigar more than once, knowing that, okay, I'm probably going to have an issue with this cigar when I smoke it, but I'm still going to love it, and I'm still going to buy it, and I'll just touch it up because it comes with the territory. With many of, if not most of the Martinez cigars that I've smoked, sort of like Padrones, I don't remember having to touch them up very much, if at all. And that in itself is a blessing. It really is. But what am I tasting? Well, I'm sort of tasting subtle pepper, some sweetness, cocoa, and the one thing I do notice that I don't taste as much in the torpedo as in the Robusto is a little bit of that pepper. I don't get it as much. I get more cocoa in the torpedo. Again, that could just be the way it's intended to be. There's this sweetness followed by a hint of pepper and cocoa. And it's just delicious. Slightly dry finish, but not overly dry. The perfect draw, well balanced. I think that's what draws me to it time and time again lately, in smoking it again and buying it again, is that balance. I really crave that. I crave when a cigar is well balanced. I think there are a lot of folks that can say the same thing, right? But there are some of us that don't mind when we have a pepper forward cigar. And like I've said before, I can appreciate one of those. I just gotta kind of be in the mood for it. Maybe even pair it with something. But when a cigar is well balanced, and this is a medium full here. This is a medium full cigar. It is not a weak, soft, mild cigar, but it isn't aggressive in any way. I don't like overly aggressive cigars either, because that takes the enjoyment out of it. When the nicotine takes front and center stage, it's not even about how I start feeling or how we may or may not feel. Sometimes a lot of it has to do with just the balance. Now, in the previous review for the Robusto Gordo, we talked about Cubanito. And Cubanito is a thin, potent, one of the most potent Dominican tobaccos that they use in the Dominican Republic. And Cubanito is of Cuban seed origin, of course. It's almost sticky like tobacco. It's thin. It's a little gummy, and it blends well with Nicaraguan tobacco. Jesus Martinez, I believe, used it in this blend to give it just an extra kick of something different. But it's not like a double ligero, right? And we're not talking about something that's going to overwhelm you, but you know it's there. And it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. It goes very well with this blend. And another thing that I get more in the Robusto Gordo of the Patrimonio is a little bit more leather hints, whereas I don't get them as much here. Here I get more sweetness, more cocoa, some earthiness, some pepper, but not too much. And as obviously as you get into the final third, you'll get a little bit more of the pepper hints, but it'll stay more cocoa-like, and you'll get some bitter notes of from the cocoa. But for the most part, I find that torpedo is just a bit smoother. You don't feel the strength of it as much as you feel the strength of the Robusto Gordo. Those are my differences in what I have observed in taste. But I think if I had to pick between the two, if I had to pick one between, I think I would go with the torpedo for a nightcapper, and I would go with the Robusto Gordo when I'm feeling like I want a little extra kick. You know, just something a little extra, a little bit more of that leather, some of that dark chocolate bitter notes. You'll get more of that in that. So those are the differences that I've observed. And transitions, they're smooth. They transition very, very well-balanced transitions. So even the way that the cigar transitions is well-balanced, and I like that as well. There's nothing funky about this cigar at all. This is from a blend recipe that Jesus Martinez found that belonged to his father that was never done. And he wanted to make it come to life, but he had to tweak it a little bit. But I'm not going to tell you too much about how he tweaked it, because I want you to watch my interview with Jesus Martinez when I sit down with him and we do a 50 questions. So listen, folks, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this review. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I welcome you back, and I thank you once again. Till next time on Backyard Cigars.